Okay, we're recording now. We missed the first, well, it was 10 minutes of intro. We missed 10 minutes. So far we just missed console log and yeah, just console log. Oh, well. I told you my brain's not working today. Thanks for the reminder. Just start over. No, we're not starting over. You're just lucky that you're here to see it. But console warning, so that's just let's comment out the old stuff that we just did so there's less noise in the. Oh, let's pull up clearing. So clearing, that's a cheat code, so you can just go like this. Now that's like me commenting out all the console logs before. And now I can do this. Warn something went wrong. So, oh, is it not warn? My brain is not working at all. It is console.warn. Oh, there's a clear. I thought the clear, so I don't use console.clear. So actually my assumption was wrong. I thought it would just clear everything before. It clears the console completely, even though you can console log something afterward. Whoa, I wonder, let me see. I want to pop it out and see if it really does that. That kind of sucks. So I just popped the window out just to verify. Yeah, console.clear clears even the stuff after it. Well, that sucks. I'm not using that. So I learned something new.
Is it because it's inside an app? That's why it's like constantly being checked. Because normally when you're in the console login, you put clear. I mean, you can't really clear what's after because you type after.
I don't think so, because it's still, these lines are synchronous. So this line should have printed after it. Console log is a synchronous operation. So,
I see.
yeah, I don't know. I don't use that, so I just learned that too. So console.warn, like, I don't really use that for debugging. I don't think that's for like helping you put it in the code. Like if you made a library or something, or you made a hook, or you made a component, and then somebody's using it in the wrong way, then you can like put a console.warn, like you forgot to put in a prop. Like I think React does that. Let's see if let's see. Let's make a component and let's make like a prop, like required prop. So, and then one. So like you could put this warning inside there. Then you can say if this is a very contrived example because my brain's not working to think of a better example. But now watch if I use this. I'm gonna comment out all these other things so there's less noise in the console. So let's render out this testing without passing in the prop. And then you see how this warning came out. But like if I did pass in, let's see. So now, just to verify, it doesn't do a console.warning. So This is a very contrived example. You wouldn't probably do this because you can use like prop types, like there's prop types equals, and then import prop types. Oops. I think it's prop types. Prop types. Oh, we gotta install it. Where is the files? Prop.
You can left click on the blue button on the white screen and it'll add for you.
Where?
On like on the right side where it says dependency not found error. On your right, yeah.
Oh, look at Kiki, you got the cheat code.
I've been playing in the playground.
Shows that I'm not even reading the screen. Thanks.
Yeah, it's
Let's see.
a quicker way.
So normally you can have prop types, and prop types you could just, or you in like if you're working at a company, a lot of people use TypeScript now. So now you don't need this. Let's see. Oh, because I got the prop type. Let's see what it says. So see, they do a warning. For some reason it comes out red though. Maybe they do an error. I'm not sure why it's red. And then when I do it, it was yellow. I think console.warn is supposed to be red though. Let's try to see. Red. Let's just do a console.warn. Console.warn. Oh, I guess it doesn't work if you do it straight in the console. Well, you can try it out later. That's not super important. But I was just
on my console and it's yellow.
Oh, it's yellow.
Yeah.
So my example is just a contrived example. A better example is like if you're using like React context, and then in the the consumer, or if you make a hook, you can make a hook that I can just show you. Actually, let's do that later if we got time, because that's more advanced. So remind me if I forget later on, if we have time to come back and do like a React context example. It would be better than my contrived example where I was saying, if not, I'll just leave that in there though. As an example, this is just an example of, excuse me. This is an example of like where in your code you could put this like console warn thing. It's for developers who are using either the component you made, or it's really helpful in libraries. If you're making like a React component library or a hook that you want to share with other people, then you can warn people that they're using it in the wrong way. Like that's what this console.warn is more for. For debugging, I don't really use it for debugging.
I wouldn't be surprised if React uses some sort of console.warn to make that failed prop type appear, the failed prop type appear in the console.
Yeah, it must be console.error. So we'll see error next. So error is error. Oops. An error. So yeah, what they did, I think they just did this. Or Yeah, see how that looks like. Yeah, they use console.error, even though they put warning. I don't know why they didn't use console.warn, but yeah. So we just found out how React made this come out. They use this console.error. They probably just did something like this. It's probably more fancy the way they did it in their code, but this would work. This would work the same way. They just injected into the code somehow. Info is for pay attention. It's just a different color. So like all these things, honestly, I mostly just use console.log. Console.table is a little useful though. We'll see that in a little bit. But mostly it's just console logs, and this little trick putting the angle brackets to make it an object is mostly how I debug. It's funny because there's all kinds of developer tools for debugging, but like majority of the developers just use console log, I think. We can, if you pop this out, I can show you just for console log in the JavaScript. Sources tag is also good because you can like say like pause on exceptions, and that will like pause it. If there's a runtime error happening and you don't know where to put the console log, you can just click this pause on exception. So we can just force that to happen. Like we just go like this. So let's see. Let's refresh. Should pause, I think. Yeah, it paused, but it didn't pause in a really good place in this contrived example. But normally you can like see the whole like stack trace and stuff.
Sam,
So,
I'm sorry, I was looking at my screen. Where do you check pause on exception?
under sources. So if you have something that's blowing up your page and you don't know where to put the debugger or the console log, you can just click this thing that says pause on exceptions.
Okay.
Then you don't need to put a debugger in your code. It will just
and
pause
does that keep the app from, like, whatever you do that would have crashed the app, does that keep it from crashing so you can see what exactly it was that crashed it? Is that the purpose of that?
Yeah, so you can like click through, like normally, like my example is not good. But normally there's like a stack trace, right? Because you have a function that called a function that called a function. Sometimes it goes like super deep, so you have the whole stack trace, so you can keep like stepping through like and looking like how you got to where you are. And then it tells you all the values. So if you pause right where there's an error, you can see what all the values are. Like you can even console log, like I can console log what error is right here. Oh, why is it not? Oh, because I clicked around. Let's see. Maybe that's not a good example. Well, normally, because I'm doing everything in a contrived way, it's not the best example. Usually when it pauses on the exception, any variables that are in scope of where it stopped, you can console log it too, or you can console.dir, or you can console.table. We didn't do console.dir yet. So sources is usually helpful. And then in React, we'll see, we're gonna do request network tab. When you're doing data fetching, you always gotta keep the network tab open because you gotta see like what request was actually made, what is the raw data that the API actually returned, and then you know if something went wrong in the external service and not your app, because then you can see the raw data that you can prove what you sent to the API and what you got back from the API before, like, and it's not anything in your app. You're just verifying the raw request. So we'll look at that in a little bit. So network tab is super important for debugging, data debugging. The other thing in here while we're over here, components. Let me take out, there's no components because it blew up before we even, let's render test too. So let's do test. Let's pass in, let's so let's see. What did it do? Broke it. Oh, because I paused it over here. Okay.
Sam, can you zoom in a little bit on the pop-out screen? The log is a little blurry.
We're here.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Now, what was it doing again? Okay. So now we're doing, oh yeah. I wanted to show you this. So now, normally in your app, you have a lot of stuff. Our app hardly has anything in it though. So we can just click on test because we can see it. And now you can inspect what props to verify. It's like a sanity check. What prop was actually passed when it rendered on the screen. You can even do like if we look in app, look, it even has the hooks. It has the state of like the hooks. The crappy thing is it doesn't have the name of the of the state thing.
That's
though.
really annoying. I've noticed. It's like, well, okay, now I gotta guess.
Yeah, I don't use this actually. I mostly just use console log.
Oh, okay. The application tab is good for browser local storage. If you're using that, I've started to use that to check like cookies that get set.
Yeah, that's good too if you're doing cookies and local storage and stuff like that. I mainly use this to like search for components, just to make sure the component got rendered. Like sometimes you don't know if the component got rendered. So if I search for some component, it would tell me there's no component called sum. So that's like a sanity check. You can also jump straight to the HTML DOM node. So you can jump, like if I'm on tests, I can use this to jump straight to the HTML that component rendered, which is super helpful because that's how I debug like CSS issues and stuff like that. So that's one good thing from this. Profiler I don't use that much just because I haven't worked on stuff where performance was like a super big issue or like was causing a big problem. That's when you would use Profiler because usually you don't want to optimize for performance up front unless it's absolutely necessary, critical to your app. Like, at least in my opinion, readability is more important because your code needs to be, developers need to be able to understand your code, including yourself when you come back to the code tomorrow, next week, next month, 6 months from now, you got to understand the code. So readability and maintainability of the code is number one to me. And then performance is just when there's some kind of problem or if it if it's making the UX like janky or stuff like that. But usually when you're like just trying to ship stuff, you don't think about it. You don't try to debug performance issues, but like you should still think about. That's why you study algorithms and stuff. Like for at least for the basics, like even though you're doing front end, you should know at least the basics of algorithms, like string manipulation, working with arrays. Like if you go on LeetCode, there's like array sections, or I like Code Signal better than LeetCode. LeetCode's hard. Code Signal is more fun. It's a little easier. And if you're just starting out, like Eat-A-Bit's like probably a better place to start. If you go to LeetCode and you're a newbie, you're just gonna cry and quit. So I recommend going to Eat-A-Bit if you're a newbie to like start off. You have to start. You can't just jump to like the most difficult things. That's not a great way to learn, at least in my opinion. You gotta fill in all the gaps and work yourself up to like the harder problems. And for most people, especially like front-end developers, like you don't even need to go up to like dynamic programming and all that kind of stuff. I've never used dynamic programming ever in my 8 years career of doing front-end work. Just make sure you at least learn the basics algorithms, and then, I mean, if it's fun to you, definitely go ham and learn all the dynamic programming and stuff. But if you're just trying to get your foot in the door, like fundamentals is the most important. Okay, that was my rant. I got sidetracked.
All the links in the chat to whoever that's interested in what Sam just talked about. Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. Testing. So that's if you want to do like poor man's tests, like you don't want to install Jest or something, you can just do console.assert, and then you just put like a Boolean statement like test equals ASDF. So my assertion failed because test is not ASDF. But then if I do that, there's no, it doesn't print anything. It only prints if it fails. So if you want to TDD something like in like a quick way, you can add these assert things so that it's like console logging like errors until you make it work. It's like a quick way to do it without like, if you don't have Jest, like if you're just working in Code Sandbox and you want to like TDD something, this is a way that you can like, a quick way to like TDD whatever you're doing. TDD, sorry for the acronyms, is test-driven development. So you can, I don't want to go deep into it. You can Google that if you have never done TDD. It's just a different, it's just a, what do you say? It's just a way to develop code. Some people are dogmatic about it, and I do it when it makes sense, which is not very often when I'm doing React, only when I'm making like utility functions and stuff like that. Because React components is hard to TDD because you it's kind of like art, you know, you're just like, you're kind of just like playing around with it, and then you, even not art in the sense of what's showing up on the screen, even art in the sense of the way you're like putting together the code. It requires creativity, like to make the code like easy to understand, and it's just hard to TDD that kind of stuff, in my opinion. Okay, clearing, I'm gonna skip that because as we saw that sucked. Like, why you want to use that? I can't even think of like a reason to use the console.clear, especially since it doesn't console log everything after. But maybe Kiki is right. Maybe it is a code sandbox like quirk. I'm not sure. You could try it out in your own app outside of code sandbox. So viewing DOM elements, here is where I wanted to revisit use ref. Because now we can actually look at what the ref is. So let's do it in our test component. Let's do required. Word prop. Okay, so now I'll show you the difference. Like if we just console log, oh, sorry, I'm gonna add another hook. Sorry for all the contrived examples, but these console logs ones, it's not very easy to come up with a good example. Okay, so after it mounts, I'm gonna console log the ref because the ref doesn't get set until it renders the first time. So if I console logged it the first time, it would have just been undefined. And to verify that, I can show you. So if I do console log here, required prop ref dot current. Let's see. Why does it not like? So it says undefined here. And let's do my trick. Oh, we can't do my trick because it's like required prop ref dot current. So we can't do my angle bracket trick because the angle bracket is when the name of the thing you're printing is the same as the value, but since it's
Sam,
dot current.
Is that undefined because the thing you're referencing hasn't actually loaded in the page yet, so it can't, it has nothing to log?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to demonstrate. So
Okay.
the first time, so this is not a good example of what I'm wrapping an object in an object. When it's an object in an object, you don't want to do that. My converting it to the object trick is for when it's strings. It's better when it's strings. So we can see current is undefined, but that's why I wanted to do it in a hook because it needs to set the ref first. Because what the ref is doing, like behind the scenes, is doing something like this. It might do more than this, but it does something like node. It gives you a reference to the HTML node, and then it sets like so behind the scenes is doing that. It might be doing more than that, but it's at least doing that. This is just because you can actually do more. Like if you want to like get the bounding rect, then you can like set the values of how big that's how you do, like, I forget who was asking last week about how to get the size of the div so that they know how big to make the text to make it fit like inside the div. You can do it in here. Like you can even do like, so you can get the size of the H1. It's, I don't know why it's that big though. It's 2077. No, I guess it's no on the first. Let's see, let's render the node here. Let's do my, So getting the node, let's skip ahead to console.dir. So console.dir, oh, why is it nothing? Huh. I guess, I don't know.
Didn't
what is this?
console.dir have a issue?
Oh yeah, thanks. Console.dir doesn't work in Code Sandbox. Anyways, I'm getting too advanced. Let's go back to what I was doing. I don't want to confuse you. So just know there's magic happening to set that. That's some use ref magic. So now when we do require,
You might have a request. Yeah.
Yep.
Can you just one time console log the entire ref like that?
Yeah, so that's what this is. So the ref has just a current pointer, and then it's pointing to
Okay.
the HTML node.
Uh-huh.
So let me get this one. Now we can do console.dir in the window that I popped out. So this is what it looks like, and it's just it's just the HTML, but it's actually the HTML node. It's just when you console log an HTML node, it just prints the HTML markup. That's what console log, the toString method, I think on an HTML node, just that's what it does. But if you do console.dir, it will work if you pop it out. It just doesn't work in this fake console, because this is not the real developer console, right? They like Code Sandbox made that to like, just so you don't, because their real console has like all kinds of stuff in it. But if you pop it out, you get the normal console. So let's see. So console.dir, we get this object, and then it gives, then you can see all the properties on top of whatever you call console.dir with. So another example we could do, let me comment this out. Like, what if we did, I don't even know what would happen. I don't think I've ever done this. What if we did console.dir test? I don't know, what is it? So you can see it's a React component. It has prop types. You can see what the prop types are. The name of the component is test. So you can even do console.dir. Like if you're using a library and you don't want to look up the API docs, you can console.dir and then you can just see like what, you can just get more information on it. But that's another contrived example. I've actually never done that. Just showing that any object you can call console.dir on, but I don't use it that much. Mostly just console log, but it's just good to know all this stuff exists. Grouping together. Okay, let's just copy and paste what he did, because I've never used this. Just so we can get to the timing one, because I wanted to like fetch some data. Let's see. Dogs he has, let me just copy the dogs. So again, so it looks like that doesn't work inside of Code Sandbox, so you have to pop it out if you want to do the grouping. All it does is it groups together every, when you do group collapsed, and then you put in a string, whenever it sees that string again, it will group it together like it did here. So it grouped together all Hugo's console logs, and it grouped together all Snickers console logs. So I don't know, maybe that'd be useful. I don't think I've ever used that before though. So there's that. Counting, let's just copy that one too. I've never used that one before either. But just to show you what it does. So it just tells you how many times it console logged, whatever that is. So let's look at it here. So yeah, not super important. So this thing rendered a bunch of times. That's why it's like the number's so high. So timing, we can do SWR again for people who are here. That last time we did, it's just hook for doing data fetching. So it was awesome. So let's use it again. So that, and then Kiki's trick, boom.
Save so much time.
That's a game changer, man. Did they just add that? I don't think that was on before.
It has been on for the past 10 days, so I don't know. I cannot tell you before that.
Shows how much I pay attention. So let's do, you don't have fetcher. I have this API. There's this random user. If you go to randomuser.me, there's like an API just for like testing out stuff. It's just this is just a free API that doesn't require API key. I don't want the header. I just want the data. So first of all, we can do, let's just sanity check and do console log. So we can see all the stuff. And we seem to have missed table. So let's do table. These are common things. When you have an array of things, table actually helps. So let's do table. Data.results. So if we look at that, let's go look in the actual, this one looks better. So this is just a better way to look at the an array of objects if all the columns are the same. So you can go and see, this one is an object though. So if it's an object, console.table is not so great because it just looks like this. But you can go look at the raw data. So you can, if it's an object, then you might want to just console log if it's a little more complicated object like this. But if it's just like strings, console.table is a pretty good way to just like console log real quick to just kind of like see what the data looks like. It's kind of good when you're like testing out a new API because then you don't even need to look at the docs. Like you can just like, okay, what happens if I request the data? And then you can just look at it real quick. And then at least you know the shape of the data, what it should look like. So there's that. And then let's see, let's comment this out. Now let's do the actual timing. So for the timing, we would have to do, for the timing though, let's not use the timing for the, let's just do a for loop or something. So let's make our own custom hook. Let's do, const use. I'm gonna comment this out so it stops fetching. My code sandbox is like slowing down now. So const use, what was it gonna do again? Timing. Use timing. Let's just say that. And then we'll just say function. So let's go get the code from here, console.time, and then console.time end. So we'll do console.time. Time. Oh, my code sandbox is dying. And time, and then execute the function. Okay, so we made a custom hook. Now, if we say, let's say, random function. And I'm just going to run a for loop in here. So we do like for let I equals 0, I less than 10,000, I plus plus. And then in here,
you're gonna need a semicolon after the 10,000.
Oh, thanks. Console dot log I. So actually that's gonna print a lot. Let's do here, let's just do a small number so we can see it. The time is gonna be not that. What is this complaining about? Oh, I typed extra digits over here. Let's get rid of dogs. Oh, so random function. And now we can use our hook. If my code sandbox can stay alive. So use timing and then pass it random function. Let's see. Oh, time. End time doesn't exist. What did I do? Time end. Holy crap. That's what I did. Oh, this thing needs to be the same then. I'm using it wrong. Fetching data, it has to be the same key. So we'll do const key equals timing the function. So we can just see that every time this hook is run, it times whatever function you pass into it and tells you how long it took to run that function. So we just made like a utility hook to encapsulate. You could use this every time you want to see like, how expensive is it to like run this function? Like maybe the function is doing some crazy calculations that like crypto, like not cryptocurrencies, but like cryptography. There's a library called like crypto.js. Those functions are expensive when you're like, they can be expensive when you're like encrypting and decrypting like large amounts of data. Then you can like just throw the function into the hook and just get like a ballpark to see like, oh, if it takes like 1,000 milliseconds, then you should figure out some way to make sure that it's asynchronous, however you're performing that function, so that it doesn't block the rendering of the code on the screen. So that was a little more advanced. Anybody have questions about any of it? We're at 9 o'clock. I can stick around like usual, answer any questions about anything we did or just other stuff. But first we should answer any questions if people have any questions about anything that we did.
I had a question about custom hooks.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought writing a custom hook was more complicated than that. Is it really just you define a function outside of your component and then call the function inside your component? Or do they sometimes get more complicated?
Yeah, my example is really contrived, so this doesn't even need to be a hook. This could just be like get timing or whatever. Usually, like this could just be a utility function. So like all my examples tonight are super contrived and like, but this can be a hook. Like a hook doesn't have to like, but like, it would make more sense if it had like a use effect in it or like a use state or something like that, because then you can't put that in a utility function. Like I could call this time function and the code's still gonna work the same. It's just a function, right? It's still gonna work the same. But if in here, I, for some reason, put like const use effect or something, and then you save that time function, people might try and use it outside of a React component, and then it's going to explode because it's going to be like, what is use state? Or it's just not going to work correctly. It's not going to make sense. So normally, when you want to signal that the function is a hook, then you just call it use something. It's just a convention. But like a hook is just a function. But normally you put, you either have other hooks inside of it. It's just encapsulating all that. So a lot of times I make a lot of like custom hooks to clean up any, like if there's too much going on in the component, there's too much state and use effect and all kinds of stuff, you might be able to like pull out some of all that logic to like, so the code in the component is a lot easier to understand. You can like figure out how to encapsulate some of that logic into hooks. And then if you encapsulate it right, it can easily be reused in like a lot of components. But like hooks are just functions that are meant to be used inside of a React component. And they follow a specific pattern. Like if you look at the React docs, it just described what like hooks are.
Great, okay.
So yeah,
I never thought of hooks as that way, but
yeah,
right.
this is probably confuse people. So let's just not call it a hook. Let's just call it, it's just a utility function. Sorry, some of the contrived examples make it more confusing.
Do you have any tips and tricks on how to basically decouple like some of the states that it's in, like if like right now, like when I'm writing, sometimes like I just like kind of add on and then like everything becomes in the app. I know that like I should probably take something out, but I feel like some of the components are, the states are based on some of them, and I feel like it's impossible to take out without like repeating myself. Is that okay to like kind of repeat like some of the states, but then in that way I am splitting the components into like smaller, like what you're saying, like encapsulated ones?
It's hard to tell without seeing exactly what you're talking about, because you can make things easier by breaking it up into smaller components, like you said, but like some stuff is just dealing with the data, right? Then
Yeah,
you can use hooks to just extract some of the like, it's hard to know of a specific example. Like maybe where did we put the fetcher? Did I delete the so this thing, like we can, like maybe that's too much data. Like what if I want to reuse this in a different file? I would need to know this string in the other file, but like we can actually abstract that. So you don't need to know what API you're getting the data from or whatever. So we could like put that in a hook. We could just say const use get users. And then we can say actually, or what does SWR call it? I don't know. So now inside of here, we abstracted it. So now I can say now the person who's using the hook, they don't need to know. Let me console log. So see, I'm getting all the data, but look, that's like a little easier to use now.
Yeah.
Now anybody who wants this data, they can just use this hook. And if I decide to get the data from somewhere else, I don't have to go change the code everywhere where the string is. And again, this is just a simple example, but like this, I'm trying to show like how you can like improve readability by even doing something simple like this. You can just pull it out. Now the people that use it, they don't need to know where you're getting the data from. You might do data munging on the data. So like you see, it returns a lot of stuff. We probably don't care about this info stuff, right? Like what the hell is that? We probably just care about the array of users. What we could do here is say we didn't care about any of the other stuff. SWR returned, we could just do data dot, where was it again? Let's see. Let's see what the shape of the data was. Oh, results. So now I'm just getting the users. So I don't need to like keep state of everything the API returned, right? Like all I cared about was the users. So I made a hook that makes the request, extracts the users. Now when people use it, they get one thing back from the hook, it's just the users. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think this is great. Thank you for
so it's like I said, it's like art. It's just gonna, as you do it more, you're just gonna figure out things like, oh, it's nicer if I like put this in a hook, if I put this in a separate component. It just takes building a lot of things, and then you just kind of figure out oh, I can make my life easier if I make a utility function to do all this timing stuff. So I don't need to remember that you do time and time in. Oh, I can make a hook to wrap the API. Like you'll just learn um, as you keep building apps. And then once you start working and you work and you're doing PRs every day, then you learn a lot, because then you're having conversations and discussions about the code, and then your coworker is gonna like question the way you did stuff. They might suggest other ways to do stuff. When you review their code, you might notice a better way to do it that you figured out how to do. Then you can share it with the person whose code you're reviewing. You can be like, this is cool, but like, have you thought about like doing it like this? I think it's a little nicer if you like extract this into the hook, and then in GitHub you can make suggestions and stuff in the PR. So once you start doing PRs, then you, at least for me, I learned, like I got a lot better when I worked at a super small startup and I was only working with the CTO, who was like super awesome. So all my PRs was with the CTO, and he just would tear my PRs to shreds. So it was a little stressful to make PRs because I knew it was gonna get, I was gonna get blasted by him with like a million comments. But
They under NIT dash or just straight up comment that?
no, he made good comments. So the year that I worked with him, I got a lot better. And I still think about like all the things he said in my PR. I don't remember exactly a lot of the stuff, but it's just like about like creating the right interfaces for things is like the most important things. Like what inputs go into a function. You got to think really hard, like what makes the right, how to make this easy to use. What are the inputs? What are the outputs? That's like, you got to think about that all the time. And he used to drill, because I would just like throw in like any param just to make it work. But like, you want to make sure, like, if you have like a component, for example, and you're passing props, and then you're passing like business logic into the prop when the prop is like a button, like the button props shouldn't be like something about the business logic, like is user admin shouldn't be a prop on a button. The button prop should be like color, is disabled, stuff like that. So choosing the right interface for everything you make, he drilled that stuff into me. That's just one thing off of the top of my head that I always think about when I'm building stuff.
I think that's very helpful. I think as I was building, I think that also comes to my head. I was like, what should this one be in? I'm just gonna get something out there first and figure out afterwards. And then yeah, so like
the way you learn that stuff is from PRs and people drilling you about like why did you call it this? You're gonna have a lot of discussions about naming stuff, because that's one of the hardest things, right? Just naming things. And everybody needs to be able to understand the code you write. So that's why naming is super important. And also building the right interface. Like I said, your button shouldn't have a prop called like is admin. Like the button doesn't know anything about admin. The button knows that it's disabled, or that it's a certain color, or it's something like that. But that's just part of the art of building components that are easy to use, that make sense.
yeah.
Not just components, even your functions.
Sam,
Functions and hooks, you got to think about the params a lot, like, and not mix up the logic, and make sure you encapsulate it. It's this little dumb thing only needs to know about like generic types of attributes or whatever.
Hey,
Yeah.
Sam, I got a question for the code on line 31. As I still try to get familiar with destructuring, whether that's an object or an array, I was just curious about line 31. Is the result of the 100, I guess, users being passed in to that data as is that data the variable of the results of that API, or is that pulling out a property or variable, a property inside like that object? So
Yeah.
just wanting to
So
understand.
yeah, that's what destructuring is. So use SWR returns an object, and it has one of the keys is data, and I'm only taking the data. There's other stuff on there, right? Like if I did, let me see. I'll just do it twice. Actually, let me see. I'll just break it. So let's get rid of all this. So it has all this stuff on there: revalidate, mutate, error, and I'm only taking the data when I was destructuring it, because for the sake of our example, I don't care about all this other stuff that SWR is returning to me.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's just how you destructure something when you don't want the whole object. You only want like a piece of the tree.
I had a question. Actually, this is for Kiki, because I noticed you were doing the 100 days of code on, I just like on LinkedIn. Where are you finding the I guess the challenges or the things to work on for that?
From my brain.
Oh, really? You're just coming up with stuff.
I
I
would
took
say,
the advice from Sam. He's just like, just do anything that comes out of your head, and then like
Cool.
I would have ideas of like maybe like the example would be like I think for like day 10 I was doing like metronome, and then it's because like I play instrument and I sing. I was like, yeah, I can use that. And then as I was doing that, and I was like, wait, I can break it down even smaller because I have no idea what is use effect, and then what would be a smaller component of this metronome. And then I was like, well, it's got to have the visuals and it got to have a timer. Maybe I'll try to make a timer and then just work from that.
yeah,
Okay.
it's more fun. It's more fun, I think, if you do that. I did both though. So like when I started doing the 100 days of code, I did I needed to learn TypeScript for when I started at Lyft. I never used TypeScript before, so I was doing execute program TypeScript. And then if I learned something interesting, I did my 100 days of code like based on what I learned in that. I also did, there's some other courses on here. So I did like the concurrency one, and then I shared some of that stuff. Like if I learned something new and I thought it was cool, then I would just do my 100 days of code on that. If not, I would just make up something like Kiki says.
Okay.
Usually it's more
I thought
fun.
I thought there was like a master list everyone followed or something like that, but it's something different. Okay.
I mean, you can do whatever you want, but like I think it's more fun if you just like make up stuff, and
Yeah.
then like you end up like, if you think of like kind of a bigger thing, then you just break it up, and like Kiki said, you just do small pieces every day, because then you got to figure out how to build up this whole thing. But like if you're doing 100 days of code, you might not have time to build a whole app in one day. So you can just figure out how to break it down, because that's a good skill anyways, because when you're at work, you're going to have big projects, and you're going to have to like, it's going to be on you to figure out like how do I break this down and like to pieces, because then that's what you're going to have to like tell your PMs or however your team structured, like they want to know like how long is it going to take to do this project, and then you got to figure out, okay, if I break it all down into these small pieces, then in 1 week I think I can like build this small part, and then you'll promise to do that. Generally what you do is you
Under promise, over deliver.
yeah yeah you want to under promise and over deliver. So a lot of junior developers make the mistake, they want to prove
Press
themselves.
people.
They want to prove themselves, so they're like promise, like they're like, yeah, I can do the whole thing this week. And then what happens at the end of the week when you just did a small tiny piece of it? Then people are not going to be happy. It's better if you just say, break it into small pieces, and then just be like, I can do this chunk this week.
And I remember reading a book about like the budgeting time too, like whatever you think you need, and then you times it by like 1.2 or 2, I guess, depending on for my novice level. Like
two or three.
Yeah, like the experts, like the one that's been coding forever, and then they need to like budget 1.5. So like for me,
I still do too, I think.
Yeah, whatever you think you need, you times that number by like yeah, the goal is to like times it by 1.5, but right now I'm just like trying to break it down. And then like the approach is definitely like I took the advice from Sam, and then I would wake up and be like, yeah, I want to do this. It's because like it's coming from like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and then I'm trying to figure out like what are the smaller pieces that would contribute to what I eventually want to make. So like at nighttime I'm thinking about till it doesn't work anymore, and then the morning I look at it, I was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. So I think it's a pretty good approach.
Yeah, I usually make a Scrum board for myself and just like break stuff down into small parts, and then like ask myself, how long do I think this is going to take? Just every little piece I have a little sticky note for. And that's how I'll just like peel off 3 of them a day and say, oh, I'm going to try to get these 3 today.
I actually have a whiteboard.
I got extra whiteboards now. I need like more whiteboard. I need to write on walls.
I love the whiteboard. I just
it took you 3 hours.
I like writing it down and then like removing it when I complete that part. It's more satisfying than using like Trello or any kind of like tool.
Yeah, I need the physical, I need like stuff in my wake after I finish stuff. I like to see like papers piled up or things like that. It makes me feel accomplished.
It's super satisfying too at the end of the day if the board's blank. If like you finished everything, and then I usually add stuff for the next day. Like I'm like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna like break down this thing and I'm gonna do these pieces. I always try to break things down into like small pieces, into like really bite-sized chunks, even though my PR might consist of like 20 chunks of things. I'll break it down into 20 instead of just like my PR is this, and then how am I going to do that, and try to make a list from that. I'll like break it down into smaller pieces and be like, I'm going to do this, the button today. So something like that. That's just my process, but like everybody has a different process, but like it's really hard to like give estimates and stuff, even when you're like, even now, I've been doing it for 8 years, I still have a hard time giving estimates. I just be like, that's why you under promise. You'd be like, well, that's really hard, but maybe I can do this piece like this week. I'm pretty sure I can do like this piece. But it's hard, and you just develop a sense, like I said, as you build a lot of stuff, you'll get tasks that might be similar to like something you did before. but you still want to underpromise because you never know. There's always like roadblocks that you hit. Like you thought it was going to be easy, and then you come into an issue that's like unforeseen. So that's why you always double your estimate. I missed some questions in the chat.
I post a link to help answer that because you answered that last time about the optional chaining.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I was on it.
You're hired.
I'm your secretary right now. Oh.
Hi, Sam. I was just wondering what's your preferred stack?
Me? Well, I do mostly front end, so just React. I like TypeScript. Like I'm trying to convince, like the code base I'm working in right now it's just in JavaScript. So I'm trying to convince the other front end developer who's been on the project to use TypeScript. He said he'll think about it. So I like React, TypeScript, style components, Jest, Cypress. Right now, the project I'm using is Test Cafe. It's kind of similar to Cypress though, so it's okay. I really like Next.js, so I'm also trying to convince us to switch over to Next.js. I think it would clean up a bunch, and I don't think it's super hard to refactor, create React app to Next.js. Like
Oh yeah, I just started.
It's not like a months-long process, I think, depending how you set everything up. But so
Oh,
yeah,
I just
right.
started a Next.js project up like the other day. It just feels so intuitive.
Yeah, super nice. If I was making a project myself, it would probably most likely be Next.js. And then those Next.js comes out with TypeScript support out of the box. All you gotta do is name the file TypeScript, boom, and it just works already. So I would need to install style components though in order to use style components.
Yeah, so that link, it's like the creator of like 100 Days of Code talked about like the journey. So like I think you just fork it and then you commit. I realized like doing React on my local, every time I create an app, it takes like 5 minutes. So I took Sam's advice and started doing it on like Code Sandbox. So it just they have a community to keep you accountable. I mean, you just like reach out to whoever that can you can share your win and just be on this journey with.
Yeah, that's my number one advice. That's why to junior developers, they're like, how do I get a job? Learn in public. That's how you get a job. I believe that's all you got to do. But you got to be consistent. I think that works way better than code applying to jobs. If you just learn in public and if you're doing it for hundreds of days and every day you're posting stuff you learn, people are gonna notice over time if you're consistent and you just keep posting and interacting with the people that interact with your stuff. So you get better because you're consistently coding, because that's how you get better as a coder. You just code a lot, and you meet people just by posting stuff. Like people might not interact every single day, but if you're making something every day, it's likely people are gonna comment, and then you'll just meet people. People will start adding you as a friend, and then you can hold each other accountable if you're both doing it, and you can comment on theirs and they can comment on yours, and eventually you just build up relationships with all these people, and that's how you get a job, through relationships. At least that's how I got mostly all of my jobs. I mean, it can work, shotgun approach, but I've never used that approach. I just coded a lot and met people from volunteering and doing hackathons and learning in public and sharing everything I built. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys should check out Sam's project. It's super cool. The Bitcoin hunt. Didn't get too late. Didn't get to play.
Oh yeah, all the Bitcoin's gone already. It's actually where it actually went up a lot. All the Bitcoin I gave away. I made a Bitcoin treasure map that was part of my 100 days of code. I was like making these Bitcoin treasure maps, and I was hiding Bitcoin on the map, like all over the world, using these new layer 2 Bitcoin technologies where you can do that, where you can just like make redeemable like Bitcoin using this layer 2 technology. So I was testing out that, and I worked in the mapping department at Lyft. So I wanted to like test out these new like map tiles that Mapbox had that allowed you to embed data inside of the map. So usually 100 days of code, I was doing stuff that I wanted to learn, either that was useful for work. So the maps was useful for work, and the Bitcoin was just fun to me. I'm really into Bitcoin, so I combined like my hobbies stuff that I wanted to learn and stuff that was useful to learn for working at Lyft.
I put Sam's Twitter in there. Follow it.
So, hey, Sam, I've got a question. This is around like story points. And, you know, as your team goes around and gives like a particular story a point of maybe 2, and as a new developer, it's you end up taking that ticket and say maybe you could complete the ticket within a day, where I might take a couple days to complete it, or might need more assistance to be able to complete that. And so I guess my question is, how do you handle situations like that as a junior developer? Like, would you speak up and say this this might be a little bit too complex for where I'm at
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
my level of
You-
training?
You got to speak up. Because like I said, it's better to underpromise and overdeliver than just take the ticket and not say nothing. And then they get bummed out when you don't finish it. So in my opinion, it's better to be like, I think for me, this is more like 5-pointer than a 2-pointer or whatever. Or also it depends on your team, because how you're doing the points, not everybody would, it's not like based on like how long it will take. Most people do it on complexity, I think, like how complex is this thing? Like the pointing system is like really hard. Currently, I don't have to do it on my team. So it's, I don't have a PM. So it's like stuff you got to discuss with the team, like how are we pointing it? Is it on complexity, duration? But generally, the PM wants to gauge like velocity, like, so over time, even you will figure out, like you'll see, okay, I usually complete 10, 12, 15 points sprint. Then you can kind of know how much you can take on. It's just gonna take time. It's hard to know in the beginning, like how to point this stuff. It just takes time seeing things, and then you'll see similar things, and then you can kind of like gauge better. But like if something seems really hard and they're giving it a 2-point, you gotta speak up. They're not the developers. They might not know how complex it is. So you always gotta speak up. I wouldn't just take whatever they give you. Because like I said, in my opinion, the disappointing people is worse. So it's better to try and lower their expectations. Any other questions? Nope.
Do you have any open source projects that's React in mind that maybe we can like try to tackle and get feedbacks on?
Like my own personal projects?
I don't know. Like, how can we get discipline under our React coding at the industry standard?
You can do in the Slack there was first, where is it? I don't know, I have to look. In the Slack we posted there's a site that has like good first pull requests. I forget what it's called.
I have been doing pull requests, just not React. So I would like to learn more.
Yeah, I forget what the site is. Let me see.
Do pull requests count if I'm pulling for myself?
What is that?
Do pull requests count if I'm just like making the request myself and approving it myself?
I guess as long as you're getting better, right? As long as you're practicing.
It's pretty much like that meme with like Obama giving himself the medal.
So Kiki, this is a good first issue. I don't know if you can search by React. It's under JavaScript. It's not specifically React, but this is like one site to look for good first issues. The other way is you can just like find communities like nonprofits or any kind of project that you're in, like they have like, sometimes there's meetups where you just get together and like you work on improving documentation. Like I think Girl Develop It, I've participated in there. They just had like a meetup and everybody comes there and they commit something. So there's a lot of organizations. You can either find organizations you like, they probably have some kind of repo. They have hack nights every week for Code for America.
Oh, I'm helping out at one of the brigade for Code America. It's called Hack for LA. But then all I code is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
You can just look for a React project. So it's just meet people. Just go on LinkedIn and ask who has a React project that needs help.
I'll do that. I'll let me fail some more in public, and then I will shamelessly ask for more.
If you join the side project Slack, there's always people asking for help in there. Side project is a community of like, I mentor there in their accelerator program. But like the Slack is free to join. If you just scroll to the bottom of side project, I think you can sign up for the Slack at the, if you join the network, you get the Slack invite. And then it's a community of product managers, designers, and developers, and everybody's working on like side projects. So they always need developers. That seems to be what people are always looking for.
High demand.
Because then,
so much, Sam. It's so
then
fun.
Then you can contribute to those, or you can just make your own things. Yeah, like I think Richard was saying that. Because if you make your own things, then you can just open source your own thing.
Oh.
If you can just make like I have a meme generator that's open source. Anything you can put anything on NPM. This is good just to learn how to put something on NPM. I have this like tic-tac-toe engine I made when I was like trying to write more functional code, because I originally learned object-oriented programming and then I wanted to get better at functional programming. So I made this thing in a more functional way where I don't keep a lot of state. I just figured out how to keep the very minimal amount of state for tic-tac-toe, and then I made this tic-tac-toe engine so that people don't need to code all the logic for their tic-tac-toe. It's already built into my little thing. And it just has one function. It's called play around. And all you do is pass in the coordinates, and my code just figures out if there was a winner and stuff like that. I think the docs are wrong though. I never updated it. So you can just make simple stuff like that. This one is super simple. All it is a meme generator.
That's cool.
So you can do command line and it generates these memes. But if you look at the code, I did this as my 100 days of code. That's the code for this program. It's just one function.
Wait, can you copy the link? I want to see a clearer pixel.
Let's see.
Thank you.
Like, you don't have to make complex kind of stuff. You can just start with a one-line open source project and other people can contribute it. Like, if I wanted to work on this, I could build all kinds of stuff into this meme generator. Like, I just made it just because I always go, for a while, I would always like, I used to post this meme a lot on Twitter. And I would always like Google in this house meme, and I would copy the ASCII text, and then I would manually make the meme. So I was like, why am I doing that? I can just make a program that is just put one console log in there.
That's
And
great.
then I don't need to Google it and manually make the memes. Now I can just generate the memes just by doing this. So you can always just think of like tools that can make anything you do all the time easier.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a good exercise because then you learn how to, like for this one, how do you make a command line tool? Oh, you got to make like this bin thing, and I needed to Google that, and it's not that hard, you know. You just got to put these things in it. You just Google, and then somebody wrote a blog post. Most likely, somebody wrote a blog post about everything, right? You just got to know the right things to Google. And then I rolled with this on 100 Days of Code a lot. I like made this meme generator. Then I made an API where you could like fetch the meme. And then I started doing, if you go and look at my 100 Days of Code, you would have to dig it up though. I used this meme throughout my 100 Days of Code journey. It would always like pop up again in like other stuff. I had several themes that like were reoccurring in my 100 Days of Code because I just thought it was funny. I was like, oh, I thought of a new way to like, like I think I made like, I used to use Material UI a lot at Lyft, and I was like learning how to use the modals and stuff. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna pop up the in this house meme in the modal. So like some of my 100 Days of Code is like, it's just like short. I didn't spend that much time on it. Like you don't always have to do 1 hour.
I
Hey,
was
Sam.
working on something yesterday, and then like even though I have an idea, I wrote it down, break it down, but then like my brain just stuck on how to set the use state. Like I don't know, like yesterday my brain just pooped. I was like, I even wrote down like the 3 things that's in my state. I wrote down like what needs to be done, and then the moment I like get to that point in front of the keyboard, I'm just like,
Sometimes you gotta just go take a walk, and then you figure it out like while you're taking a walk. You might even figure it out in your sleep. Sometimes that happens to me sometimes.
yeah.
Sam, speaking of that, would I be able to show you an app I built yesterday in React?
Sure, if it's quick.
Yeah, it's quick.
Kinda
Yeah.
Yeah, just link it.
I don't have it linked, but are you able to share? It's on my local.
Let me see if I can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, it should be like a share or multi-share link.
Okay, I think it should work. Oh, I gotta stop sharing though, right? If I can figure out how to do that. Oh, there you go.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so let me pop that in there. Okay, let me know when you see my screen.
We see it.
So yeah, so I built this leaderboard in React, and so it updates every 10 seconds. And I did some configuring on the back to have it randomly pass in a amount between 0 to 1,000, and then also be able to capture the percentage and then sort by the highest percentage.
Nice.
Yeah, so it was a fun project. So I just wanted to kind of show and see what you guys thought about it. It was something I built yesterday.
Yeah, looks nice, dude.
Yeah. So
yeah, deploy it. Just deploy everything you make.
okay. Yeah. Awesome. Well, appreciate
share,
that.
Just share everything you make, not just in private. Just share it in public.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's like,
I find like sharing like is really good for my learning. Like I think a lot of the times, like for the past 2 weeks, I guess that I've been sharing. I definitely feel stupid, but I guess like at the same time I'm like shameless about it. And then like the moment I asked, and I'm just grateful that like Sam would give me like pointers on like this is what you do, and figure out some more. Because sometimes like even like Googling, I think like your brain is just stuck, and then you just gotta figure out different ways to like unblock. And then yeah, so far like I find it to be super supporting to have a community that you can just keep failing forward. Like I feel like I'm failing forward. Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, everybody's trying to learn. So you're not, there's people that are even like, you can help based on where you're at now. So you never know, like they might start following you and then you might be able to help them too. And like when you help other people, you learn stuff even better.
Yeah.
Because
Because eventually.
you gotta figure out how to explain stuff to other people. Even if you know how to do it, it's like not super easy to explain it. That's like, as you can tell, like when we do these streams, or sometimes when people ask questions, I like, I don't know how to explain that like on the spot like that.
Yeah, and especially you're like coding and explaining. I find that still like that's a next level skill. The moment I'm typing, I'm just like I can't talk. And then the moment I'm talking, I'm like I can't type.
But then like you can always go look it up and just tell them like, let me think about how to explain it to you. I'll get back to you or whatever. So yeah, no, you're doing good on the 100 days of code. I like your, I like the videos.
Yeah, I hope like I didn't post a yesterday one because like even though I put down all the stuff needed and then I put down the use state, but then the logic is a little bit lacking, and then I hope to finish that like after this.
Yeah. I mean, even you can even post about stuff you're stuck on too.
Really? I'll do that.
Yeah, right now. It doesn't have to always be stuff you learn. There can also be stuff that you couldn't figure out.
I definitely posted like I did post the tic-tac-toe one. I was like, yeah, tic-tac-toe is not too bad, right? And then I started like doing it, and then as I was going through the logic, but then it's going really late into the night, and then I started like typing in like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then suddenly I look at the board, I look at the code again, I start typing like 7, 8, 9, but then I don't register that I'm not putting the index right, and then like I try to debug, I was like, oh man, nothing's working, oh man, but then this logic's totally worked, but what's going on? And then like I just need to sleep, and then the next morning I look at my code, like, oh my God, this is why. But then I decide to like capture the video, and then I just like make sure that every small component was clickable, and then like it's functional, so I can have something to better work with the next day. But definitely there are times that I just need to go to sleep.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got your brain don't function as well if you don't get like, I think most people need like 8 or 9 hours of sleep to have like fully functioning brain.
I'm definitely lacking it, but like it's so fun right now. Like started with this, and then like I just want to keep coding, and then like I just want to sit, and then but then my brain is like literally telling me like, no, Kiki, you gotta go.
Yeah, it gets when you're like when you're learning those first like couple years, as you start getting better and better, it starts to get kind of addictive
Yeah.
because like you're just blowing your own mind. You're like, oh snap, I can do this now, and I can do this now, and I
That's
can do
kind of
this
what
now.
happened yesterday. Like I'm still like caught on the bug. I need to look at it, look at it again. Like, but then like last night I was like staying up till like I think 3:30. But then like I finally have to like just like tell myself like, no, you gotta go. Like I probably should have like started sleeping like maybe an hour before. Like I really like kick myself off the chair and just like go to bed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. Yeah, even I used to stay up all night too.
Yeah, like I feel like I can just stay up, but then like my code just have all kinds of errors. But,
Yeah.
what would be your
Sometimes.
advice on that one?
Do you have an iPhone?
Yeah. Oh wait, you do
Do
something.
you? I set the bedtime on my iPhone so that it's like a reminder, like when to go to sleep, and it blocks any notifications or anything, so that you don't get distracted from your phone. But like even when you like pick it up and look at your phone, it's like reminding you to go to sleep.
Is there something you can set on your computer though? Like right now, like I'm pretty like detached from my phone. It's just like I can't keep myself away from like Googling like what I should like figure out like how to use like.
I'm sure there's probably a Chrome extension that can do the same thing, and if there's not, you can make one.
All right, that's a great idea. Or maybe even if there's one, I can try to recreate one.
Yeah, you can just, if you want to do that for hundreds of code, you can just make one. First day, you can just make hello world Chrome extension.
Yeah, I
And
think
then you can build it out to be like, I don't know, display a message on the screen that says go to sleep.
tell everybody go to sleep. The sleeper Chrome extension. Gotta keep our hands off the.
You can just block the whole screen with big text that says go to sleep when it hits a certain time.
I was just wondering if there's like a backend equivalent of you that can ask like backend questions to you.
You can try in our Slack. Mostly people do front end though. I think Claude might do like some back end. I mean, he's still junior, but yeah, I don't. You gotta just hang out in Twitter and you just find people after you hang out there for a while. Go to a lot of meetups. That's probably my number one advice. Just go on Meetup and just search for like whatever back in your life. Like I used to go to the Node.js meetups every month. Even though I'm a front end developer, I still like to know. I use Node sometimes, just not every day. So I would still go to that meetup. But then when you go to that meetup, then you can just find people. And then if you become a regular, you just get to know the people from the meetup, you know. So then you can kind of feel out like who you can ask questions to. A lot of times at the meetup too, you can just ask. They have a portion in the meetup where it's like people can ask questions if they need help with something or stuff like that. So probably just go on meetup, just search for whatever you're interested in. Because yeah, I mean, I think last time I checked, I thought I removed myself from a bunch of meetups, but I guess I added a bunch. So I actually still am in like 90 groups on meetup.com.
What?
I think, let me try to look how much I have. I thought it went down because I told a story about how the recruiter reached out to me and they were like, I saw you were in 90 meetups on meetup.com. I was like, oh shit, I didn't know recruiters are like looking at that. And then I didn't even know I was in 90 meetups. I was like, how did you know I was in 90 meetups? And then I was like, oh, it's public. Anybody can see. I didn't even realize. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm in 90 meetups. I'm in 92 groups, even though I removed a bunch of the San Francisco ones that I don't go to anymore. I guess I joined a bunch of I joined a bunch of new ones. Yeah, I used to start my week by just browsing all the meetups coming for the week, and I would set up my calendar. I'm kind of a nerd. I used to go to tons of like I stopped doing regular things for a while. I only went to meetups like I never like went and like I used to go to a lot of concerts and stuff like that, and I kind of stopped and I just was going to like developer kind of stuff.
I think it's fun. I think it's really fun. I'm so glad that I like am on this journey now. Like it's so rewarding to like build and then able to like visualize, like truly like kind of in your hand. Be like, yeah, this is this and that is that.
Yeah. I just posted a link for my meetup if you want to see all the groups that I'm in.
Oh dang.
So I gotta remove some. Some of them I'm not interested in, and I just gotta go and clean it up.
Oh, there's so many group that I got a 404. I was trying to expand, click more.
Some of the meetups don't exist anymore. I gotta go clean it up.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Sam.
Yep.
I'll just
Thanks,
spam
Sam.
the group with the list of Sam's LinkedIn and then the Slack link and then the video links to JDHH and your React Sundays. I got it. I'm ready to spam next week. Is there anything more that I would need to spam?
I don't know. Up
Good.
to you. You spam whatever you want.
Is this good?
MDN is also super good to spam.
Yeah, but we always have different links from MDN depending on what we're like doing. So okay, all right.
Good night. Have a wonderful week. See you next week.
Yeah, all right.
So,
See ya.
Bye bye.
Later.